Hello guys. So today we're going to be covering a topic that a lot of people want to cover and some people just never talk about it. And this topic right here is the fact whether the BF-109 or the FW-190 is better. Now we're going to go over some quick logistics both in real life and War Thunder, backed up by some data that I found on the internet. Not all this data may be true, but it most likely is, because I found it from some pretty reliable sources. Let's start with the main reasons why the BF-109 and the FW-190 were even built. Let's start with the FW. The FW-190 was made 1941 to roughly the early stages of 1942. It was a direct counter to the British Air Force Spitfire, specifically the Mark V. It had superior performance in engine, roll rate. Everything except turn rate was better. It was the pinnacle of German creation, and it had a set intended purpose. Now, the BF-109 is a lot different from this. The BF-109 in this case was built to take out bombers, have a sufficient enough armament to be able to take out light fighters and variety of aircraft, and also was built at a much earlier time in roughly 1939-1938. Now, the key difference between the two are as the following: roll rate, turn rate, climb rate, and of course, we cannot forget the armament. Now, in real life, both of these are considered pretty iconic and amazing aircraft, but people that flew the BF-109 seem to have a better kill-to-loss ratio, especially some of the most famous aces, including the top 3 German aces of all time. Now, the FW-190 doesn't have that big of a history, but comes in close in 4th place with the amount of kills in an aircraft. And the service time of the FW was a lot shorter, meaning that the aces didn't have as much time, nearly not enough time, to get as many kills as a BF-109 ace would usually get. Now we're going to go over the logistics in War Thunder. In War Thunder, currently, people argue over this topic a ton. And I'm here to kind of settle this argument for everybody. Now, before we even start on the whole War Thunder thing, let me just say that this is completely opinionized. This is all an opinion. Completely 100%. It is all on personal preference and what you are used to. But I am just going to be giving facts and statistics about each aircraft and comparing and contrasting the two. Starting off with the Focke-Wulf. The FW has a better primary armament, meaning no add-on guns such as the R6 modifications. It has typically 2 20mm and 2 to 4 7.92 light machine guns. This is pretty considerable, especially at the battle ratings like 3.0 and 4.0. These 20mm can be the difference whether you live or you die. Now another thing that the FW has going for it is its roll rate and its flaps. Now, if you guys don't really use flaps, then you probably should with the Focke-Wulf because it is an absolute brick in the sky unless you use them, but it does make up for that with really strong flaps. The roll rate is impeccable and is better than some fighters even at higher tiers sometimes. I mean, not all of them, but, most of them. And then there is the glorious low altitude performance. Low altitude performance on the FW is phenomenal. It is incredible. It can climb like a monster from sea level all the way up to like 2,000 meters. But high altitude performance is where this thing starts to how do I put this in similar terms? Decrease in performance. I've flown both aircraft a lot in War Thunder. And let me tell you, high altitude performance wise, the Focke-Wulf does not excel. It is pretty alright, but compared to its counterpart that we're talking about, the BF-109, it's laughable. Its engine is really powerful, I give it that, but high altitudes above 3,000 meters are just not made for these kinds of fighters. Now, its multi-role capabilities are a whole different story. Since we do have the FW-190 F-8, which is a strike aircraft at 5.0, I would give this the benefit of the doubt of being a better multi-role fighter. Even some of the base variants get gun pods like the FW-190 AU-14 and bombs like the SC-250. You can make the argument, though, that the BF-109 also gets bombs, but its gun pods are not meant for ground targets, and it doesn't have a strike aircraft variant. Alright, now that we're done with the 190, let's go towards the 109. Climb rate is phenomenal. That is probably one of the best things that the BF-109 is known for, is its superior climb rate over most, if not all, fighters in certain scenarios. And another thing is its energy retention. Lightweight frame, good, pretty decent guns, and now another thing that this thing excels at is energy retention. It is a light aircraft, it excels at high speed turning, and I don't know what it is about it. It just handles really well at the 400 to 500 kilometer per hour range. Now, the one thing that I would say is a little bit lackluster for the earlier variants, at least, of the BF-109, is their primary armaments without any secondary guns. For example, the BF-109 E3, E2, E1, they all only get usually 1 or 2 20 mils, and the rest are just light machine guns. And I'm pretty sure that the G2 Trop variant only gets 1 20 mil and then 2 7.92s. 1 in the nose and then 2 also in the nose. So, it is not the best without having any modifications. But its secondary armament, typically it'll get the 15mm gun pods, which are phenomenal. But the later variants of this thing get 20mm and even 30mm gun pods. Like the BF-109 G14 gets the 30mm Mark 108 gun pods, which will decimate. And multi-role, I would have to say this thing is good in most scenarios. It does only have access to usually 1 bomb, a napalm bomb, and then smaller SC-50s. But, you can make it work. Now, roll rate, it's not the best. It is not, really meant to outmaneuver Spitfires. It's meant to outclimb them. It definitely plays a really good role bomber hunting because of that performance at higher altitudes. But, yeah. If you're trying to roll with your ailerons whenever you're slow, then, yeah, I wouldn't even try. Now, we're going to talk about the performance at both altitudes, low, medium, and high, because medium is kind of just, the dividing line between the two. And before we go actually into the medium altitude, the FW-190's medium altitude performance is actually really good. I forgot to mention that earlier. But, yeah, pretty much everything from 1,000 to 3,000 meters the Focke-Wulf excels at, but then above that it just kind of starts to crumple and not do as well, which is kind of annoying, especially for people that love energy fighters. Now, BF-109, low altitude performance is exceptional. It has a really high horsepower engine, a lot of torque, can maintain its speed phenomenally well, and also climbs like a beast. Medium altitude is probably where it starts to really separate from those other fighters, such as the Spitfires, Zero, and even P-47s and P-51s. Its medium altitude performance is incredible. It's almost like it's still at sea level. It rips through the air incredibly fast, and its top speed is even higher because the air is thinner up there. And now, the high altitude performance. This is where the BF-109 starts to become a true champion. This is where the BF-109 cements itself in history as one of the best, if not the best, high-altitude fighter there is in the entire game. The Focke-Wulf 190 just cannot keep up. The BF-109's altitude performance, even at 5,000 meters and above, is incredible. And I personally love the fighters for that specific reason. Now that we have all of the things that we need to compare the two, let's start comparing. Okay, let me look over my notes. Let's see. We have The BF-109 having better altitude performance, better secondary armaments, especially for guns, better energy retention, better overall turn rate, and then, of course, if not last but not very least, well, never mind. Okay, I cannot read my handwriting, but I think this thing says that it has better heavy bomber hunting performance. I don't know. I don't even remember what I put down. Now moving on to the FW-190, it has a phenomenal roll rate, really good at taking those low-to-ground dogfights, good at getting people off your 6 and jinking, very, very, very strong flaps, really good primary armament without any gun pods, so if you are stock, you do not have to worry. And last but not least, we have probably the best quality of the Focke-Wulf is its low altitude energy retention. Now, personally, I would say that the BF-109 is better than the Focke-Wulf because of my experience and the overall performance, because I love myself a really good energy fighter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I hope you guys have a great day.